Hello, I want to make a video highlighting these beautiful designer specialty clasps from Gita. They are part of our latest distashing collection, and so I thought I'd share a little bit about them because they're very special pieces. These are all brand new in their packages. I took the majority of them out of the package so that you could see them better, and I'll just put them all back in there when we're done here. And so most of them I only have the one color, but a few of them I have some duplicates of kind of these three here. These clasps by Gita are mostly from the mid-2000s, so 2004, 5, 6-ish kind of thing. Gita was a vendor at our bead festival, the Puget Sound Bead Festival, for many years, and she makes these beautiful pieces that are made from glass enamel over sterling silver. And what's really fantastic about it is when the enamel's over the sterling, it almost makes the color look kind of watercolory. It gives it this beautiful kind of translucent effect where they're just, so beautiful. And each one is signed with Gita's little stamp on the back. And of course, these are sterling. And when I carried them in my shop, they were maybe anywhere between $30 and $40 a piece. Like here's one for it was $38. And besides clasp, Gita made components and charms and ear wires and bails and clasps and brooches and all these things, beautiful pieces, all using this same really unusual technique to make these beautiful pieces. And because this latest collection, I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 of these clasps. I wanted to show some ways to use them in your jewelry design, because one of the most common things I hear about them is, of course, they're beautiful and people love them and they're so colorful. But because of that, they also maybe can be a little intimidating when it comes to, I don't know what I'd make with it. I don't know what I'd do with that. It's so colorful. I don't know how I'd make that work. And so they pass. And so I wanted to show you that the truth is, this is going to be one of the easiest pieces you've ever had to work with. And you already have the beads you need to make a stunning piece of jewelry out of these. So I've pulled some different strands that I want to share with you here as we go kind of through each color story real quick. And I just want to show you some options, but I promise you it's going to be unbelievably easy. So because these are all pretty colorful, right? And a lot of them use many colors. We don't want to pick up every color in the clasp. We just want to focus on one. And all these clasps really need is one great kind of large stone or freshwater pearl. So something that's, when I say large, I mean smaller than the clasp, but 20 millimeters, up to about the size of the clasp. The clasp is a focal, right? So it won't be in the back of your necklace. It'll either be for a fantastic bracelet, or it'll be the focal in the front of a necklace or on the side if it's a longer piece. But all of these need is just that one great strand. And it's like a great larger, again, gemstone or freshwater pearl strand that I know you all have. You all have it at home, saying, well, I don't know what I was gonna ever do with this strand, but I loved it, so I bought it. Right, well, that's what we're doing here. So I'm gonna bring this close up a little bit. So here's this beauty. And her colors are, kind of taupey and more of a kind of golden rod and that kind of ivory color. Very, very pretty. So I think she'd be beautiful with just this strand of chalcedony, right? And this is a pretty inexpensive strand. I think she's only $28. And then she's actually half that on sale. That's it. That's all she needs. And it's great because the clasp is the focal. So what we string with her should not distract from it. The clasp is the focal, and the strand we use is just to make it stand out even more, right? So that, here's some topaz that's equally beautiful. And because the clasp is a better piece, right? It's a higher end piece, being sterling and an artistic piece. I think a gemstone or a freshwater pearl, a nicer strand is called for. You know, if you have a great big crystal you would love with it, then great. But I think she calls for something really special. So this is green garnet. Here's another strand of green garnet. This one's a little bit lighter in this tumble, but look at her. Look at that with there. That's fantastic. And see how now that taupey color almost looks olive? It almost takes on that kind of an olive tone to go with her. That's that translucency, right, of the enamel over the sterling, that it really kind of picks up and enhances the colors that are on here. This is a little faceted strand of green garnet. Equally beautiful, just darker, a little bit darker. Beautiful. Really, really beautiful. Though, right? So, like, that is all she really needs. Here's a strand of topaz, this lemon topaz, you know, which is a strand maybe you'd buy because it's so beautiful. And look at all the colors and this cube shape. And you'd be like, gosh, I'm not sure how I'm ever going to use that. Here's how you're going to use it. Right? Oops. Stay in frame. How beautiful is that? Especially with all the natural colors in her. How gorgeous is that? Right? It's so pretty. And again, if it's a bracelet, the clasp takes up a good chunk. So for a bracelet, you're not going to need more than 6, maybe 5 inches of the actual bead that you use. Something like this, we might even put a teeny bead in between, or even to knot it. That might be even better. That way, there's nothing to distract from it. But very beautiful. Okay, so we'll move on. I'll try to go a little faster as I go through these. All right, so here's a really colorful piece. So pretty. What shall we use with her? We have so many options, right? It's a beautiful kind of amethyst color and olivine, and then that almost kind of burnt sienna color. And we could definitely use any of the green garnet that we just looked at. But this citrine is also lovely with her. See how, again, so now that kind of burnt sienna color looks so lovely with that citrine, right? Again, it's that translucency. It just almost melts and becomes that color. It's so pretty. And I know plenty of you have lots of big, gorgeous, chunky, natural citrine that would be beautiful with. And how about her? Or how about we pick up this amethyst? What about that? What about that? Look at that. Look at her. That is beautiful. She needs nothing else. Nothing. You know, if it makes you feel better to do a teeny little bead in between, you could do that. If you had other amethyst, maybe in a tiny rondelle or something, that could work. I have an iolite in a rondelle. But something kind of like that, or a little round, because the thing is, you're going to need a little round bead anyway for the toggle, right? Because the toggle has to be able to go through and back up. So our first ½ inch or so, the length of half a bar, has to be a smaller bead anyway that will go through here. So a small Ami round in a little, again, 4 millimeter, 3 millimeter, or a silver bead, something like that, or brass, you know, just a teeny, or a little crystal. But you'll need it anyway for the toggle. And then if you wanted to, you know, add a few somewhere along there, you could as well. But what I don't want you to do, and so why this is so intimidating, is you might go, oh my gosh, I love those colors, but I don't have those colors. You don't need to create a whole palette around this. In fact, don't, because it will be so busy. It just won't work. And so, or you're like, those are my favorite colors. I definitely have it. Look, I've got an olive pearl and a copper pearl and a strand of amethyst. Look at, perfect. Look at, yay. no, 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 no. I can't say it enough. No, no. So there's no need to do that. One strand. If you want to make all this into a gorgeous necklace, multi-strand bracelet, something, then find a great big beautiful brass clasp or gold clasp or something to highlight her. But these are just, you already, like I said, you already have the strands at home. It's going to be the easiest piece you ever make. It's going to be so fun. Okay, let's do maybe this one. So this color is kind of a mauve brown-y color. This is a great call for any of these kind of brown pearls, right, that have the natural iridescence on them. Look how pretty that is. And this is so nice because of that keshi shape, right? Because the shape of the clasp was kind of funky, and so this really lends itself to this piece. That's fantastic. I think that's yummy, yummy. Or here's, or if you have a big round, that's also cool. Very, very pretty with her. Right, especially with all that, the purple tones, the brown tones, and all that, they just highlight it all so beautifully. It's really, really, really lovely. Excuse me. I think I mentioned in another video that I am putting some strands and pearls out loose. Now this is not necessarily them, but I did have some that I started with, and let me make this a little smaller. And these are some mixes, but you could do a bright carnelian, and it kind of picks up all that. That's very pretty. Or in the citrine, so just there's options. Especially if you're doing a bracelet, you're gonna need, again, a lot of those. And let's do it black and white. There's a couple black and white. And here you go. So this also could not be easier because the black is really more the accent, right? Because the body of it is more gray and white. Black is your buddy. Here's a big, lovely, chunky black tourmaline. You can use a black spinel. Look how gorgeous. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. You could throw in a teeny tiny little silver bead in there once in a while if you wanted, and that would be fantastic. That's all she needs. Now, I think that's a great way to use your black stones, but you could definitely also do a big pearl. Here's a big gray pearl, and you could knot her on black. Right, and so that would be a fun way to bring in a little teeny bit of black that just would really be an accent there. Fantastic. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. There's this little 3-strand baby. It's the only one that's a multi-strand. And it's also the only one that doesn't need, a teeny bead. Well, it does need a little bit smaller bead, I guess, to make that work. But she's 4 strands. I think this is for sure a necklace, for a focal necklace, because of the way the loops are laid out. So just envision that, right? Because see how pretty these will all lay as a necklace, as opposed to a bracelet, which you still could do, but then a bracelet's gonna go straight. And so you just have to change the numbers a little bit. But I think it's the way this can almost kind of feathers out it will be so pretty as a necklace, personally. But just for color's sake, she's beautiful with this kind of navy keshi pearl. That's gorgeous, gorgeous. We could do some highlight, because even though it's more of it's like a violet, like a blue violet on there with a little bit of yellow. Look how pretty that is. So pretty. And because this is a would be a multi-strand, what you could do is, if you have, which I'm sure you do, multiple shapes or sizes in any particular gemstone, like if you love, citrine or labradorite or whatever, you have many shapes and sizes in it. So this is a good way to use them. So you could use I'm making a big mess here. But you know what I mean? Each one of these could be a different, you could use different stones, and as long as it's the same color, it would be really, really pretty and really interesting. Then it's a good way to use your different shapes. And they don't need to be quite as big because it's a multi-strand, but that's lovely. And that was with eyelet, but you could definitely still do. Come back to the amethyst. All right, look how pretty she is with the amethyst one. Or again, I have, you know, smaller ones that you could build with your smaller ones. But just gorgeous ways to work with her. Let's see. Okay, just a couple more. Here's an olive, and I think this is a dark purple around the outside or a navy. It could be black though. So you could definitely do a black. I mean, it's a little boring personally. That's just me. But because, again, it looks like a dark purple or a dark blue to me, we could do the eyelet. I think that's a little more interesting than black, personally. I think that's very pretty. Or any kind of big eyelet that you have. I go back to that big Amy. Again, that outside accent color is just a dark color. That's very pretty. Let me grab my loose tray here. Again, she's beautiful with that pre-night. Oh, back up. It's lovely with this pre-night here. And, oh, you know what? And I need more hands, that's what I need. I have this pre-night. That's gorgeous. I like that better than an olive tone with her. That's very pretty, especially with the black inclusions and things in the natural pre-night. That's gorgeous, I think. I think that is lovely. It's a lovely way to use her. What else was I gonna do with her? I think of a Vesonite. So if you have some big chunky Vesonite, which I know I've sold, so this is maybe not the right one because it's tip drill, but color-wise, it's really lovely, really pretty. Or a peridot, or, you know, there's so many pretty olivine kinds of stones that will work. Lovely, lovely, lovely. But I'm gonna go back and say something like this is a no. You know, it's too busy, too distracting. It is one strand, one stone, but just, you know, too busy unless it only has like a light. I'm trying to make it work. Like, that's not bad. It's still a little busy, I think, personally. But if you have a certain strand, or, you know, that is a little bit lighter, if, you know, inclusion stuff in there, that could work. Did we do her? The gray flower? I don't think so. She's easy. So this is why I think this outside color is purple on the green one, because it's definitely on here. So this is an obvious, again, I'll bring back to this beautiful Amy, right? That's stunning. Done deal. Beautiful. And again, you could put in a couple little silver beads. This would actually be a nice piece to bring in a little bit of a silver bead here and there. That'd be lovely. Where's that gray pearl? We could do the gray pearl if you'd rather. And then also maybe bring in, I don't know, you could knot her a little bit on that blue. That's kind of pretty. That's an option. Yeah, so very pretty. So either one of those would be great. That's a lovely, lovely clasp. Easy to work with. Well, again, I think they all are. So let's do, last couple ones. This big turquoise one, so pretty. Yes, you could grab the black. It's a black, but let's not. This will work so beautifully on all that big turquoise you have. Look at how gorgeous. Look. I've sold so much big turquoise that I don't even have any big strands left. This is my little loose tray I'm playing with. Look, how gorgeous. Whether it's green or light blue, The only thing is I would stay away from the ones with lots of brown and inclusions, but otherwise, look how beautiful. Look how beautiful. Or mix it. This would be a great one to mix it with too. Or here's some Amazonite, right? Look how pretty with the Amazonite. Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. I think I have a strand of Amazonite too somewhere. Yep, blue one. Look how pretty. Right, so that's a winner all day long. So yes, you could do the black or the gray pearls, but I know you guys all have tons of turquoise. That's a perfect one for that. Then there is this bright blue baby. So same dealio. You could do the gray. I don't love it though. She needs bright, bright blue. So something like Iolite, it won't work. It's too muddy. See? So we need a bright. So grab those big bright blue pearls you have. And look at that. Look at her. There you go. And I'm just doing this for color, unless you want to do multi-strands, but look how pretty. Or even the violet. Look at that. Stunning, stunning, stunning. But not good in that peacock blue, right? Muddy. So bright, bright colors. A bright blue. Or lapis. So if you have a beautiful lapis strand, which I know many of you do, there you go. I think she needs that beautiful blue. And if you have a beautiful blue strand that you haven't known what to do with, here you go. And I don't know, I think I mentioned, did I mention prices? So, right, originally at the shop, they were between $30 and $40. They're not available now, and of course the price of precious metals has gone up considerably in 20 years. When I looked online to try to find some on Etsy and eBay, I found them around $50 all the way up to $100. Again, given the precious metal and the designer factor, they're not available, blah, blah, blah. But like most of our destashing collection, I am leaving these at as close to an original price. So right now they're all $30, and which is even less than one of them, at least the one that was marked 38. So it is your opportunity to grab these. I don't know if I'll always be pricing things that way, but right now I'm so excited about just giving my community an opportunity to buy these stunning pieces that I didn't realize I'd ever see again, you know? And besides these gorgeous clasps, I do have a little collection of charms and bales and things that I'm gonna take photos of later and put in an email for you. So, but I wanted to share some design ideas with you on how to use these, and so stop by and see them soon. Until then, sparkle brightly. Peace.